When the roles between parents and children begin to shift. There comes a time in life when the relationship between parents and children starts to change. You've spent years raising them, guiding them, and sacrificing for them. But one day, you realize things are no longer the same. Maybe they no longer listen to your advice, dismiss your opinions, or even make you feel like a burden. And that hurts. If your children have started treating you with less respect than you deserve, don't rush to anger or arguments. It often makes things worse. Instead, there are much more effective ways to regain their respect without conflict or resentment. In this video, we'll share 6 powerful ways to restore your place as a respected and valued figure in their lives. Some of these may surprise you, but if you watch until the end, you'll discover simple yet transformative changes that can completely shift the way your children see you. Stay with us until the end so you don't miss these important insights. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss valuable content. Now, let's get started. Don't argue, lead by example. When your children dismiss your opinions, talk over you, or treat you with disrespect, your first instinct might be to argue back, to remind them of everything you've done for them and demand that they listen. But here's the hard truth, arguing never works. Think about it. When was the last time you convinced someone to respect you by fighting for it? Respect isn't won through words, it's earned through presence, composure, and self-assurance. If you respond to their disrespect with anger or frustration, you're only reinforcing their perception that they have control over you. Instead of arguing, lead by example. Carry yourself with dignity and confidence. Speak calmly and assertively, not out of a need to prove yourself, but because you already know your worth. When you stop chasing their respect and start embodying it, they will start noticing. Take Frank's story, for example. He was a retired teacher who once commanded respect in the classroom, but at home, his grown children treated him as an afterthought. At first, he tried to fight back, raising his voice, demanding to be heard. But the more he argued, the less they listened. Then, he changed his approach. He stopped seeking their validation and started carrying himself like a man who already had it. Instead of reacting with frustration, he responded with wisdom and patience. Slowly, his children began to see him differently. If your children don't respect you, don't fight them for it, show them what respect looks like. Keep your dignity, speak with confidence, and never lower yourself to their level. When you hold your ground with grace, they will feel it, and in time, they will follow your lead. Withdraw your emotional dependence. One of the hardest lessons to learn as you grow older is that you cannot depend on your children for emotional fulfillment. You may love them deeply and want them to love and respect you in return, but the moment they sense that you need their attention or validation, the power in the relationship shifts. Here's the reality. People, even your own children, respect those who are emotionally independent. When you rely on them to make you feel valued, it creates pressure. Instead of feeling grateful, they may start feeling burdened. They might pull away, respond with impatience, or even treat you with irritation. The harder you chase their love, the less freely they give it. Helen's story illustrates this well. She was a devoted mother who had given everything to her children. But as they grew older and got busy with their own lives, she found herself waiting by the phone, hoping they would call. When they didn't, she called them instead, too often. She reminded them how much she missed them, how she wished they would visit more. But instead of drawing them closer, it had the opposite effect. Her calls became an obligation rather than something they looked forward to. Then, one day, Helen made a change. She stopped waiting. She stopped calling first. Instead, she started focusing on herself, picking up new hobbies, going out with friends, and taking care of her own happiness. And something surprising happened. Her children started calling more. They began to appreciate her time and presence because she no longer placed the burden of her happiness on them. The less you depend on your children to feel needed, the more they will value your presence. Show them that you can stand strong on your own, and they will respect you, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely admire the life you've built for yourself. Set boundaries and enforce them. One of the biggest reasons children lose respect for their parents is because the parents allow it. If you tolerate disrespect, whether it's dismissive comments, condescending tones, or being treated as an afterthought, your children will continue that behavior. Not because they are bad people, but because people, especially family, treat you the way you allow them to. Setting boundaries doesn't mean creating conflict or cutting off your children. It means calmly and firmly deciding what kind of behavior you will and will not accept, and most importantly, enforcing those boundaries when they are crossed. Take Robert, for example. He was a retired businessman who had spent his life leading with confidence, but at home, his grown children ignored his opinions, interrupted him, and even criticized his lifestyle. At first, he stayed silent, thinking it wasn't worth the fight. But over time, he realized something. Every time he tolerated disrespect, he was teaching them that it was acceptable. So, one day, Robert made a change. When his son interrupted him, he calmly said, "I'll continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he responded, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect to be treated with respect." And when they continued pushing his limits, he made it clear, if they couldn't treat him with basic respect, he wouldn't be spending time with them. At first, his children resisted. But over time, they realized their father wasn't backing down. They saw that he valued himself enough to demand respect, and because of that, they started giving it to him. If your children don't respect you, ask yourself, are you allowing it? Because if you don't set boundaries, they won't set them for you. And if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. Stop giving without appreciation. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is to keep giving to people who don't appreciate it. As parents, we often do this without realizing it. We give our time, energy, and support, even when it's ignored, taken for granted, or met with entitlement. But here's the truth, when you give to someone who doesn't appreciate it, you don't build love or respect, you build expectation. They stop seeing your kindness as a gift and start seeing it as something they are entitled to. And when you finally stop, they don't feel grateful, they feel inconvenienced. Take George's story, for example. He was a father who had always been generous with his children. He helped them financially whenever they needed it, dropped everything to assist them, and constantly put their needs before his own. But instead of gratitude, he was met with complaints. His children didn't say thank you, they just expected more. And the worst part? When he finally needed their help, they were too busy. Then one day, George made a change. He stopped overextending himself. He no longer offered help before it was even asked. And most importantly, he started saying no when he needed to. At first, his children were frustrated, they didn't understand why he wasn't bending over backward anymore. But over time, something shifted. They started valuing his time. They started appreciating his efforts because they realized his generosity was not unlimited, it was a choice, not a duty. If you feel like your children don't respect your time, effort, or kindness, take a step back and ask yourself, are you giving more than you should? If so, what would happen if you stopped? Because when you teach people that your generosity is conditional on respect, they will start treating it that way. Build a life outside of them. One of the most powerful ways to regain your children's respect is to show them that your happiness does not revolve around them. As parents, it's natural to devote ourselves to our children. But as they grow older and build lives of their own, that dynamic shifts. If you continue making them the center of your world, they may start seeing you as someone who has nothing else going on, and that can lead to them losing respect for you. People, including your children, respect those who have their own purpose, passions, and fulfillment. But if they see that you rely on them for entertainment, validation, or meaning, they may start feeling suffocated, or worse, viewing you as someone who is merely waiting for their attention. Eleanor's story is a perfect example. A widow in her late 70s, she poured everything into her children's lives after her husband passed. She constantly checked in, gave unsolicited advice, and expected them to fill the emotional space that her husband once did. But instead of bringing them closer, it pushed them away. They visited less, their calls became shorter, and Eleanor felt more alone than ever. Then she made a choice. She joined a book club, started traveling, and volunteered at a local community center. She stopped making her children the center of her world. And something incredible happened. They started reaching out more. They were curious about her activities. They admired her independence. And most importantly, they respected her. If your children don't respect you, ask yourself, do they see you as someone with a meaningful life? Or as someone simply waiting for them to call? Because when you show them that you are truly living, not just existing, they will start seeing you in a completely different light. Final thoughts: inspire respect, don't demand it. Respect is not something you can force from your children, it's something you inspire through the way you carry yourself, the way you set boundaries, and the way you live your life. If your children have started treating you with less care, less consideration, or less respect, don't waste your energy getting angry. Instead, shift your approach. Stop chasing their approval, because the less you need it, the more they'll give it. Lead by example, because your dignity speaks louder than your words. Withdraw your emotional dependence, because the more self-sufficient you are, the more they will respect your presence. Set boundaries and enforce them, because people will only treat you as well as you require them to. Stop giving without appreciation, because when generosity is taken for granted, it loses its value. Build a life outside of them, because people respect those who have their own purpose, joy, and fulfillment. If you do these things, something incredible will happen. Your children will see you in a different light, not as someone waiting for their attention, but as someone who naturally commands respect. And in time, that respect will come back to you, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment and share what resonated with you the most. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on content that helps and inspires you. See you in the next video.